Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Welcome to June 8th, Ridin Solo. It is Sunday morning, 11:01 a.m. Haven't been on the show in a while. It's been pretty busy back here. Busy weekend, but Chris and the guys have done a great job of kind of filling in, making sure everything's taken care of. I know I've actually not been super involved in DFS this last week, but I did do a bunch of stuff to kind of get me on the track for today to help you guys out. Um, Hopefully everybody had a good week. I believe the last time I was on was Wednesday night with Brandon and Furious, and we gave out some plays that the next day ended up being pretty solid. Hopefully that's kind of the case. How Lou TV was all week for you guys. Other than that, though, just some basic housekeeping details that I kind of touch on with every single ride and solo on Sunday mornings. Sunday being a day where you're going to see a lot of day games after night games. Positionally, this is a time where a lot of managers will give their backstops, their catchers a break. They can position guys who've just played a bunch of games in a row that might need a day off or something. Those guys get a rest, or your older guys who just need a rest might take a rest. So definitely, on some nights you can kind of just plug and play without even looking at lineups, and you can be okay. But today, like Sundays, especially, are days that you can't get carried away trying to just throw a guy into your lineup that might not be in there on a day like today. But anyway, we should get to some baseball action. Before I really touch on it, I do want to talk about the Cubs a little bit. If you guys haven't been watching the Cubbies, shame on you. 5 in a row, guys. 5 wins in a row. And I know that we're facing some NL East opponents that aren't that great, albeit the Marlins have been pretty good this year. So despite playing those teams, I don't think you can take it away from a team that has won 5 games in a row. So the Cubbies, awesome, super exciting to watch when your team actually wins, and I will talk about them today and why that streak might end today, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Anyway, I do want to touch on this first game. I'll just hop right in, try to get through this here for you guys so you have plenty of time to make lineups, and I've actually got to go run a practice for my Legion team and stuff, so I will get through this here for you guys. If you have any questions, throw them out in the chat or on Twitter or something. We will get to it. First game on my list is at the Rogers Center. It's the Blue Jays and it's the Cardinals. I'm looking at just the weather here. This would be a game that, would there be no roof, would be a weather concern, but obviously with the dome and the Rogers Center, no concerns on this game. This game will get in. There's no issues with that. We've seen the Blue Jays be absolutely fantastic kind of all season, and especially recently. But Shelby Miller, man, really shut them down not too long ago, and so that was pretty disappointing when you think about a team that's really exploded. I don't think they get shut down today. Definitely not. My list here has Jaime Garcia thrown against them, left-handed guy who got banged around last start against the Royals of all teams. A Kansas City team that doesn't really provide a whole lot of power, doesn't strike out a lot, but just kind of is like a meh, type of team that you normally try to take advantage of. That Garcia actually got hit around, despite having the platoon advantage over some of those better guys there. Today, Garcia against all those right-handed bats of the Blue Jays at Toronto. No thanks for Jaime for me. This is a day where, if you take a look at the team totals and stuff today, guys, you'll notice that it doesn't appear at first glance to be a day where we're jumping out of our shoes at offenses. Despite there being a game in Colorado, that game is being pitched on one side by Clayton Kershaw. So that kind of drug down the total on that game. I believe the total on this one, if I can find it here real quick for you. I had it up, and now I'm losing it. The total on this game, the over-under is 9. I don't have team totals up for some reason. But still, that's one of the higher ones on the day, so you can be sure that you're expecting a little more offense in this game between Jaime Garcia and Drew Hutchison, young right-handed guy throwing for the Blue Jays. And the Cardinals' bats have been kind of a mystery all season long, in my opinion. They've had a couple games where they've really, shown some prowess. Guys that I typically like to use from the Cardinals, a guy like Matt Carpenter and Matt Adams, players like that, haven't really particularly been super good when I've tried to use them. But not too long ago, Carpenter had like a 5-for-5 game and stuff like that. And so when we're moving into this is like the third month of baseball now, guys should be just about in full swing. And I think you'll kind of see an uptick in production from this lineup because it's a better lineup than they've maybe shown thus far this season. So I still do like guys against Hutchinson today, even though I'm more on the Blue Jays here. So just hitter-wise, I won't be on either one of these pitchers. Hitter-wise, though, you have to mention those left-handed bats for the Cardinals, and obviously, some of the other value plays there. See what the lineup's going to do. Tavares is there now. Grichuk is up there. He's a guy who absolutely, like, when he hits the baseball, obliterates it. His hit speed off the bat is like off the charts, especially for a guy that nobody really knows a whole lot about just yet. Colton Wong, those guys are always in play. And on the other side of it, Jose Bautista, absolutely, he's incredible. Edwin Encarnacion, all those guys that we frequently are discussing from the Blue Jays. It's one of these teams that has just been fantastic, not only in actual, the merit of actually playing the game and, playing in the AL East and stuff like that, but for daily fantasy sports, the Blue Jays have been kind of like, one of the best teams I think you could ask for. If you stacked on a consistent basis with the Blue Jays, I think you would have been doing pretty well this season. But I don't want to spend too much time on that game. I will move on to the Reds and the Phillies, a game where it looks like the wind's blowing out a little bit at Great American Ballpark. I caught the back half of this game, the game they played there yesterday. A bunch of home runs hit there. Jay Bruce, Frazier, Rollins, a bunch of home runs. But Aroldis Chapman's absolutely unreal. I don't know if anybody's watched him recently, but he's thrown 103, which we've become accustomed to seeing from him. But then he's thrown like a 90-mile-an-hour slider, dropping a 90-mile-an-hour changeup on those guys, and it's not fair. For any of you that actually played the game of baseball, once guys start running it up, even around from your 90s to 95s, it gets difficult to see. The ball becomes kind of more like a pill, and when a guy's throwing 103. And then he's dropping like a 90-mile-an-hour slider on you that's moving the way it is. It's unfair. So obviously, I know he doesn't really. He's not really relevant to daily fantasy sports outside of maybe a place like Draft Street. Sorry about this, guys. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, I think I'm good. Sorry, I'm not good. Okay, hopefully I'm good. Sorry. I'm the only one home, so I'm supposed to be answering the phone, but I'm not going to answer the phone. Anyway, talking about this Reds-Phillies game. It's Homer Bailey on the bump against David Buchanan. Buchanan has not been good. I don't want to use him at all. Last game he threw 6 innings, 10 hits, 7 earned. The 6 Ks is nice, and sorry guys, this is awful. Hey, I'm doing a show. See ya. Sorry. Anyway, David Buchanan has not been good. 10 hits, 7 earned in his last start, 6 strikeouts. He's got the loss in his last 2. So once again, at a hitter's park like Great American, I really like guys like Jay Bruce who can hit home runs. Todd Frazier's a guy that I guess you could consider. I don't use him a whole lot. I wish Joey Votto was here. This would be a perfect day to use Joey Votto. So I don't want to, I wish he was there to use, but he's not. And I will not use Brandon Phillips, regardless of what you guys are, what Chris and all those guys say. Brandon Phillips, no thanks for me ever. On the other end of it, though, Homer Bailey, I think this is one of the bigger question marks kind of on the day. He's been better of late. In his last three, he had three quality starts. The strikeouts are up a little bit, and the Phillies lineup is obviously a lineup that isn't frightening at all. If you look at Bailey's win-loss record at 6-3, you think, okay, he must be pitching pretty well. But his ERA is up around 5, a WHIP around 1.5. Just like when guys are putting that many guys on base, when you're allowing that many runs, obviously in a thing like daily fantasy sports, we can't kind of take guys who are that inefficient. With that being said, though, I love what Homer Bailey brings to the table, especially against the Philadelphia Phillies team. So throw out all his previous stats from this year, guys. Kind of focus on today. Obviously, it's daily fantasy sports, so we want to be able to live and kind of forget what happened yesterday. But anyway, focus on today. I think this is a guy that comes with a ton of upside. There are some really big names on the boards today, but guys like Clayton Kershaw at Colorado, it's a little, sticky when you think about that. I think Homer Bailey kind of slides into a really nice GPP option today. Or, if you feel safe enough, rostering him as like a second pitcher, on a site, depending on his price. It's going to depend on the site you're playing on and stuff like that, but he brings so much upside to the table. And this Phillies lineup is absolutely disgusting. I know they scored some runs yesterday, but not a team that I'm worried about, trying to hit around Homer Bailey at all. I love him as a GPP option. But moving on, we'll move on to the next one after I was rudely interrupted by whoever had called. I actually didn't even check. Hopefully it was just my parents. Anyway, the A's and the Orioles at Camden Yards. This is a game that looks like it's going to be fine weather-wise. It's a 1:35 Eastern start. It looks like there's going to be some rain that moves in the back half of this, but I don't see it. I don't really see it hitting. You should be totally fine using anybody from this game. It's Scott Kazmir and Ubaldo Jimenez. Talk about two guys that kind of have like the same type storyline. Kazmir, a huge prospect. Jimenez, a guy that coming out of Colorado, getting dealt to Cleveland and everything was, we expected a whole lot out of both of these guys, and they both have brilliant stuff when they, are on a given day. Looking at the over/under on this, it's at 8.5, which is kind of up in your little bit higher type thing today. Because of some, it not being a higher scoring day. But anyway, let me pull something up just real quick here for you guys. Kazmir has been real good recently. Ubaldo, not so much. He had that start against the Astros where he was pretty good, threw a bunch of pitches, but the 8 strikeouts is nice. Last start, only 1 earned at Texas, but the thing that really I struggle with when I think about rostering a guy like Ubaldo Jimenez is those walk totals. In his last 3, he's thrown 15 2/3 innings and walked 12 guys. That's almost a walk an inning, and that's just when you're putting guys on base at that rate, you cannot ever feel safe, rostering a guy like that. So whereas I think that Ubaldo is a kind of always a GPP play because of the potential he brings to the table. With strikeouts, I don't think he's a guy that I'm going to be rostering today, especially against an Oakland A's team that, plays that platoon advantage so well and really, tacks on runs just about against every single pitcher. On the other end of it, Scott Kazmir, I won't be using Kazmir either. He has been good. His last 2, he threw a complete game against Detroit, and then he threw 6 1/3 against the Yankees with 10 strikeouts. Those are really good numbers, really good games. But you talk about this Orioles team that's going to be able to throw in a ton of right-handed guys, and you talk about guys like Nelson Cruz, Adam Jones, Machado kind of has some reverse splits, but you talk about those guys, and you should instantly kind of be scared off of Scott Kazmir. If you just look at, obviously, if you're looking at what Nelson Cruz is doing this season. As it is, you should be well aware that that guy is kind of always in play right now at the rate that he's hitting home runs and everything. But if you just pull up his Fangraphs page or something like that, and you just look at what he's doing against left-handed guys, even if you're not into the super advanced statistics and stuff, if you look and you see, man, he's got 45 at bats, he's got 4 homers, he's hitting 380 against lefties. And then, I mean, if you scroll down a little bit on his Fangraphs page to the advanced stuff, his ISO against left-handed guys is 400 this year. He's getting on base at a 508 clip against left-handed guys this year. You think about that, and you put a guy like that in your lineup who's getting on base 1 out of every 2 times, actually more than 1 out of every 2 times against a left-handed pitcher. And I think it just makes a whole lot of sense to roster him. And, on a day like today, where guys kind of see what Kazmir has been doing, I think you might actually see guys in the industry who really aren't super aware kind of just see that matchup and just really back off. Back off it incredibly just because, oh, wow, Kazmir's been you got to pay a lot of money for Nelson Cruz. But if you're looking into this stuff a little bit deeper, if you're digging a little bit deeper, you can clearly tell that it makes a lot of sense to pay up for a guy like Nelson Cruz today, who does get the left-handed guy. So take advantage of that. Let me scroll down here, see if their lineup is out yet. It is not out yet. So I'd like to see kind of where he's at. Definitely in play for me. A lot of those guys are on the other end of it. It's Ubaldo. You look at John Jaso's leading off today, always a great option. Brandon Moss against right-handed guys. Do I need to say any more? Nick Punto would be maybe a sneaky punt option, like super mid-price across the sites. Hitting 2 today in front of Donaldson and Moss. And then you got Stephen Vogt, I think, or Voigt, I don't know, V-O-G-T, I don't know how to say his name. Hitting 6, playing right field. A left-handed guy with a platoon advantage against Ubaldo. Should you have exposure to A's and kind of want to get one of the cheaper guys in your lineup. But I'll move away from that one. I'm slowing down a little bit here. Moving on to the Brewers and the Pirates game at PNC Park. The weather on this one looks really strange, at least in the Daily Baseball data page that I'm looking at. Up until 1 o'clock, it looks okay. Around 2 o'clock, it looks pretty bleak. Thunderstorms at around 60% chance. And then, or not, but at 3 p.m., it says 0% chance of precipitation, cloudy. But then at 4 o'clock, it's 90% chance of thunderstorms. If anybody else has a better source, I normally just use Daily Baseball data for this. If anybody else has a better source, kind of on like what the weather is like there, I'm actually not in Pittsburgh right now. I could actually text somebody and find out, but I'm kind of unaware. It really frightens me because the percentages of precipitation, the likelihood of that happening, look to be pretty daunting. But anyway, I will discuss it just to discuss it, just in case guys want to take a chance on it and play it a little cute. Charlie Morton, Giovanni Gallardo. Gallardo, he had that fantastic start to the season. He's been hit around recently. He, just giving up a lot of runs, giving up a ton of hits. A ton of hits. I hate taking pictures that give up a ton of hits. That can't seem to put anybody away. And that's what Gallardo's doing. He's got a bunch of 6 strikeout games, 5 strikeout games, but he doesn't seem to be putting guys away enough for me to really get on board with using him. So I definitely would not be using a guy like Giovanni Gallardo today. And on the other end of it, Charlie Morton, he's still not a guy that I'm going to be using, but he's a guy that might be a solid, 4th or 5th option if you're really scraping to get a second pitcher, a second pitcher on a 2-pitcher site or something like that. These lineups actually are out. Pedro Alvarez hitting 6 against Gallardo is a guy that I like. Walker hitting 2, I really like that. Actually, man, the lineup, I lied to you guys. It's Jeff Locke pitching today. Jeff Locke, the left-handed guy against the Brewers. That completely changes everything because the Brewers, as you know, mash left-handed guys. The rain is going to be sticky there for this because you're going to want to try to get guys like Segura, Braun, Lucroy, Gomez, all those guys in your lineup. And actually, the Brewers are rolling out 9 right-handed guys today. So those are guys that you're going to want to have in your lineup, but definitely pay attention to weather. It's tough with it being a 135 type game. Even if you went to DraftKings and you put these guys in your lineup and you said, okay, I will check check back around game time and see what's going on here and decide from there. You'd have to have another kind of stack type option on the board, which there are that we'll get to for later games, but it's really risky, super risky to try on a site like draft day or draft street or FanDuel that is going to lock you in, and then you're done. So man, that's super tough. But I would love a lot of those Brewers guys against Jeff Locke. Jeff Locke, not a guy that really fell off after the All-Star break last season. A guy that shouldn't frighten you at all. And guys like Braun, Segura, Cargo Light, Chris Davis, Ramos Ramirez, all fantastic options should the weather decide to hold. I mentioned the Bucks that I like. Let's see. That's it for that game. Let me move on to the next one. The Mariners and the Rays. This is at Tropicana Field, so obviously if this is a dome, weather details completely irrelevant. Man, it is King Felix on the bump today. Who obviously everybody loves King Felix. He's been fantastic. We had some odd concerns with him earlier in the year, at least in a DFS perspective, because wasn't getting the strikeouts, got banged around by like Houston. It's kind of like you're thinking like, oh man, can I trust a guy like King Felix? But if you've renewed your faith in him a bunch, then that he's completely like on the board today as an excellent option for sure. The other side of this is Chris Archer. Sorry. The over-under on this game, guys, is 6.5. So not expecting many runs at all here. I actually do like Archer still, even as a GPP option, because there is a huge K potential there. Archer was a Cubs farmhand for a long time, traded him in that Garza deal, which is kind of disappointing now. But anyway, not that matters, sorry. A lot of strikeout potential in this game as a whole. I like Felix obviously much more than Chris Archer. Felix is my number one guy today on the board. There are a couple other guys that I do like that I think you could maybe make a case for rivaling him as number one, based on the site and the salary that's attached to them. But King Felix kind of takes that number one spot for me today. His last 3 weeks, he's 4-0. The WHIP's below 1. His last 3 games, 9 Ks, 9 Ks, 8 Ks, only 4 earned in 23 2/3 innings. And let's see, he's got a streak here. He threw 8 2/3, and then 7 in his last 4, and he's riding a 5-game win streak. It's King Felix. It's not like I have to really say too much about this guy. But to reassure you, we saw that dip in strikeouts. It's not an issue right now. He's been fantastic. The strikeouts are back. Do not fret that today. If that's something that's still lingering on your mind, get over it, because King Felix is obviously a fantastic option today. Anyway, I mentioned that I like Archer, and for liking both of these guys, I don't want any hitters in this game. I mentioned the over/under of 6.5, so no thanks on any hitter in this game. But the next game, maybe a hitter or two that I will recommend here. It's the Yankees and the Royals. I would love if this game was at Yankee Stadium, but obviously it's at Kauffman Stadium. A 2:10 Eastern start. Man, the Royals are a team that kind of all season long. It's Hiroki Kuroda and James Shields today. Another one of these games that we're not projected to see a whole lot of scoring in. And I think that case will kind of hold true. We are often maybe scared away from names based on team names also. When you think of the Yankees or maybe like the Braves or someone like that, or teams that I guess have a history of winning or in recent years kind of have always been in our mind as winning teams and good ball clubs, it scares me, it scares us to maybe like roster a guy like James Shields against the Yankees. But if you throw that aside, that they're the Yankees, and you look at the lineup and you look at what they've done, maybe you shouldn't be as frightened. Their lineup is actually not out yet. But I think James Shields is a fine option today. Shields is a guy that, big game Shields, right? A guy that, has been around the league for a while now, a veteran guy. He, has not been good recently, not at all. But the strikeout potential is still there. There's the potential to go real deep in this game. This is a guy that, he throws a lot of pitches. They let him throw a lot of pitches. So if you're looking for a GPP option that you think could go deep in the game, could rack up strikeouts, I think James Shields is one of those guys for sure. He's got a game on the season with 12 Ks. He's got a game with 9. You got to go back a little bit here to May 13th, where he had 8 But other than that, they've been kind of down. So that's one thing that you could point to as to not using him in cash games. But I think GPP, obviously we mentioned that everybody's kind of always on the board. Shields gets kind of one of those top few spots in my GPP only type plays, especially as pitchers are concerned today. On the other side here, Hiroki Kuroda, this is a guy who I think more of as a solid just like pitcher overall. I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's not anything too great, but he just kind of goes out there. He's pretty underrated. He goes out, he just pitches the game. It's not too flashy. It's never like 12 strikeouts, complete game type thing. It's he's around like the 6 to 7 innings, 3 or 4 Ks, 5 Ks. He gives up probably like 5 or 6 hits, but he always seems to limit damage. He doesn't walk a whole lot of guys, and honestly doesn't really give up a whole lot of runs. I don't really think he gives up a whole lot of runs today either, just because the Royals lineup and Kauffman Stadium, being the proponents of that. Now the Royals do have Aoki, they do have Hosmer in there, and Gordon, and Moustakas down in the A-hole who will have the platoon advantage against Kuroda. But the guys here for me that I would be on would be Hosmer and Gordon. If you're looking for power, then you shouldn't be looking really, I guess, at the Royals at all. But if you're looking for just guys who could be kind of that off-the-board type play with the platoon advantage matchup, then those guys are the guys that you would be using against Kuroda. Otherwise, though, if you don't want to pick on Kuroda, you don't want to pick on James Shields, perhaps you want to just scroll down to your next game, the next game on your list, at least on my list, the Miami Marlins at the Chicago Cubs. Oh, go Cubs, go. What else should I say? 5 games in a row that we've won now. Chance for a perfect home sweep on the homestand. That would be awesome. But today, I think as a Cubs fan, it's going to be a tough day. Wind is howling in, according to Daily Baseball data, 20 miles an hour straight in from left. It's Henderson Alvarez is if you watch his last start, complete game shutout, 88 pitches. And being a Cubs fan, I've watched enough games to know that a young, undisciplined team like the Cubs struggles tremendously with guys who are incredibly efficient, like Alvarez. To name a few, Mark Burley, Tim Hudson. If you got to see Tim Hudson pitch against the Cubs, guys that go out there, they throw strikes, they pound the zone, and their stuff just seems to be I don't know, it's hittable, but it's just you don't ever end up doing anything with it. And that's the type of pitcher I think Henderson Alvarez is. He's thrown, 2 complete game shutouts now with less than 90 pitches on the year. If you just look at his overall numbers, they'll suggest that he's been pretty fantastic this season, actually. And he's been real good, obviously, recently. His last start, yeah. Let's see, he hasn't given up a run in 21 innings now. Hopefully the Cubs break that today. I'm hoping that as a Cubs fan. But I could totally get on board with using Henderson Alvarez, especially as a number 2 pitcher. I'm not sure where his price is at on sites, but this is a guy that I think is going to be fairly heavily owned, especially in your cash games, your 50-50s, because it is the Cubs, and despite the 5-game win streak, I guess when you look at that wind as well, I think you're really looking at a pretty safe play. On the other end of it, with that wind, I would not be touching many hitters at all. Just about only touching guys that maybe could swipe a bag and score a run. If it's blowing in like it suggests, this would be a day where you're gonna have to manufacture stuff. So a guy like Emilio Bonifacio who could get on and swipe a bag. Yelich can swipe some bags. I love Christian Yelich at the top, but Jake Arrieta's throwing for the Cubs. A guy he's super tough to roster in DFS because he doesn't throw a whole lot of strikes. And when he does throw strikes, he's very good. He's got excellent stuff, but he throws a ton of pitches and just doesn't last very long in the games. He has good strikeout stuff, but I don't care if you're going to strike out 4 guys through 4 innings if you can't finish the 4th. I need you to be able to go 6 or 7, and this is a guy that really has to really, really, really labor to get to that 6th, 7th inning, which stinks because he's got tremendous stuff. If he can figure it out mentally and throwing strikes, I think he could be an excellent starter in this league. But he's not a DFS option. The over-under here is 6.5, another one of those super low-scoring games. Um, and but I don't think you'll see Arrieta owned too often. I know like the Marlins lineup's not going to frighten me at all, and I would have no issue using him. Um, but there's nothing to be gained from it, I should say. Like in this game, if you're going to use one of these pitchers as a two pitchers option, you're going to be using Henderson Alvarez, just based on the safety, kind of the longevity in the game, and those type things. So here, yeah, you look at that wind, you look at the two pitchers on the bump, you look at the lineups, and you say kind of, hey, no thanks on any of the hitters, but the pitchers are definitely kind of in play. Alvarez being more in play, more so in play than Jake Arrieta. I think that will be kind of the popular thought today. I did actually skip a game, probably because I was a little excited to talk about the Cubs anyway. The Astros and the Twins. This is at Target Field. I know the Astros are a pretty exciting team right now, with all the guys that they've called up and just how they've kind of put things together. Looking at it here, it's Colin McHugh and Samuel Deduno. Samuel Deduno of the Dominican Republic, a guy who pitched really well in the World Baseball Classic, but has not pitched. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't pitched poorly, but hasn't been like anything lights out, at least in terms of daily fantasy sports. When you look at Deduno's line, you should be quick to kind of notice that in his last, let's see, I'll go back 5 starts. His last 5 starts, 5 Ks, 4 Ks, 4, 2, 2. When you look at a guy's game log like that, you should instantly kind of know that, hey, no thanks on this guy. If he can't strike anyone out, there's no point in using him in daily fantasy sports. So that's all I'm going to say on that matter. He really has not been bad. If you look at he's not getting up a ton of hits, but he's also not going deep into games. He's not really walking a whole lot of guys, and he's not giving up a whole lot of runs. But no strikeouts means no use, at least for me in daily fantasy. Colin McHugh, this has been one of those guys that I mentioned at length with Chris the other night, a guy that the Astros organization tried to really work with to change his approach to hitters, and it has paid off tremendously for him thus far this season. A 2.52 ERA, his whip's under 1. He's been great, man. Last start, he didn't go as deep. He threw around 100 pitches just to get through 5 innings, so that was sort of disappointing against the Angels. But the start before that, you look at 7 innings, 9 Ks, 7 innings, 7 Ks. There's been a lot of strikeout potential here, and he's been solid. I think that's an apt word to use for the situation. He's been solid. But I think it's still a tough thing for me. I mentioned this to Chris. It's a tough thing for me to get on board with using him just because I'm so used to not trusting these guys. And I know I shouldn't be saying that because I should actually be looking at like the peripherals and his statistics that he's thrown up there and the splits and stuff like that, and weighing it against the lineup that he's going to see on a day like today, and maybe what Vegas is thinking and stuff like that. So I should be taking all those things into consideration. But I'm kind of already just looking at it and saying like, no thanks on Colin McHugh. I just can't feel safe doing it. It makes me feel, I don't know. It makes me kind of sick to my stomach to even think about rostering a guy like that. Sorry, Colin, if you're out there watching this. Sorry, but I'm not on board yet, buddy. The Twins lineup isn't out yet. I think maybe you'll see Colin McHugh be used by guys. If you want to use them, use them. If the numbers suggest something to you and you're okay with looking at that, go ahead. I'm just not sold yet, man. I'm going to need to see a little bit more. Sorry, Colin. But yeah. So with that being said, I think this game is more hitter-friendly than pitcher-friendly in my opinion. The Astros lineup is out. Singleton's hitting 4. I think that's really nice. I think one of the disappointing things here, I guess it's not really that disappointing. I shouldn't be that disappointed about it. Was I kind of liked Dexter Fowler in that 3 spot, and I'm not sure if he's been hitting leadoff in the past couple of days or not. But Springer's down to 3, which I have no issues with. Springer's been awesome, but I don't know why. I really liked Altuve kind of leading off, and then Fowler kind of down near the 3 spot. I don't know why. I'm not sure why I did, but that's what I liked. Anyway, I think these guys are in play against the Duno. You got Fowler, Altuve, Springer, Singleton hitting 4, Dominguez, Grossman, who is gross, Carter, Corporon, and VR against the Duno. Twins lineup is not out yet. Expect to see something similar. Maybe a day off for a guy like Mauer, who, although isn't catching anymore, just one of your older veteran guys, you just might see a day. So keep your eye out on those games, guys, and kind of be aware of what's happening there. I think that game is more hitter friendly, definitely, than the pitchers. I went through that Astros lineup for you, and definitely be aware of who's going to be in the lineup on the other end of it with the Twins. Anyway, I'll move on to the Texas and Indians game. This is a game that looks like it might have some rain. Coming into the game, it looks like heavy thunderstorms up until game time. And then kind of a persistent 30% chance of thunderstorms throughout the game. So keep your eye on that before you go just rostering a bajillion guys from this game. Anyway, though, if I can get my page back, it is Joe Saunders, and Justin Masterson. This is a game where there are going to be runs scored. 9.5 over under. Looking at Pinnacle Sports here, Masterson was masterful last start. You guys like that one against the Red Sox. He was fantastic. 10 Ks, 7 innings. Just a great option there last time. I'm not sure I can use him today against the Rangers. Rangers lineup isn't out yet. And being at the ballpark, their Globe Life Park in Arlington, it's just it's tough. It's tough to get on board using him. On the other end of it, I love using guys against Joe Saunders. I wish there weren't so many lefties in the Indians lineup, but yeah, Bourne leading off, Brantley hitting 3, Kipnis is back there hitting 4, Chisenhall hitting 7 left-handed, and David Murphy, another left-handed guy. A bunch of guys in there against Joe Saunders today. Saunders has been a guy that we typically are just always kind of picking on. He always kind of gets the short end of the stick in DFS. We're always stacking against him, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody's been good against him this year. Lefty's hitting 308, righty's hitting 327. Obviously, the slugging and weighted on base average for the right-handed guys has been better. That's why I'm kind of disappointed that the Indians don't have more right-handed guys to throw out there against him. You'll get, Asdrubal can switch hit, Santana, Gomes. I love Yan Gomes, especially that he's up there hitting 6, as opposed to hitting in the 7-8 spot. And Ryan Rayburn hitting 8. I think that's another guy that is definitely in play, where you can get him kind of at the cheap salary to feel good about it. So that's real hitter friendly in those games, guys. Stay away from the pitchers. Don't touch those pitchers at all. Don't try to get cute and use Masterson. Although we've seen the Rangers lineup kind of just go through its spits and spurts of not doing anything. So that could happen on any given day, but I don't think today is a good day to use Masterson. Moving on, I've got a few more games to get to. Looks like 4 or 5 more games to talk about real quick here. I have the Angels and the White Sox. Quintana and C.J. Wilson today. This is in Anaheim, or the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim is there, being played there. Anyway, let me pull up the total on this game just to give you a kind of heads up on what everybody's thinking here. A total of 8 and over under 8. I should have brought the team totals up, but I'm a dummy and didn't do it. Anyway, the White Sox are a team that strike out a whole lot, and just typically if you kind of look up and down the lineup, it's not threatening very much so at all outside of kind of Jose Abreu. So with that being said, I kind of really like C.J. Wilson, especially a guy who can rack up the strikeouts and can go deep into the game. This is a guy that he throws a lot of pitches, but should he be throwing efficiently on a day like today, he can go deep into the game too. Last start he was atrocious against Houston. 2 2/3 innings he threw last start, so he should be fresh. He should have a lot of pitches, a lot of innings in his arm, and I think this is a guy that could really go deep into this one and kind of throw a bunch of strikeouts up on the board. No thanks on using Jose Quintana for me. I just not a guy that I ever consider. Even if you look at the statistics and stuff, he's been good recently. And sorry, my eye really itches. Anyway, he's been good recently, but I don't want to use this guy. He's been really consistent with 5, 5, 4, 5, 5 strikeouts. So that's a pretty nice baseline to have. But I don't know if you want to get too cute using him against an Angels team. That's a fairly good team. there's a bunch of right-handed guys in that Angels lineup, and they actually do quite a good job of platooning those value type plays in and out of the lineup. So those guys are guys you need to think about. Lineups are not out yet, so I can't tell you who those guys will be. But if you're looking for value, you could find it in that game. Moving along, though, to the Giants and the Mets, I'm not expecting to see much of anything offensively in this game. It's Tim Lincecum and it's Zach Wheeler. This is another one of those games where the over-under is kind of smaller at 7.5. Not expecting a whole lot of scoring today. I like Wheeler, what Wheeler has done this year. I like him in his last 2 starts. He's been very, very good. The Cubs actually, I don't think he got hung with the loss for it. But the Cubs won the game that he pitched against them, surprisingly enough. But he's been really good. There's a lot of strikeout potential in his right arm. And I think the same goes for a guy like Timmy Lincecum, despite it being Tim Lincecum. Not the Cy Young winner that he was, but it is still a guy with a bunch of potential in that right arm and the chance for a lot of strikeouts. He had that 11K game back in just about a month ago in May. So if you're looking for like a sign that shows you a flash of what this guy's capable of, that would be the game. Other than that, there's not a whole lot here. Last start he just got shellacked against the Reds. But this is a Mets lineup. We talk about there just not being anything in that lineup. You got guys like Daniel Murphy, who provides you a pretty nice, safe play at a place like second base. Freaking Bobby Abreu. It's disgusting that I have to say his name, but I've seen people been using him quite a bit. Because he's not priced at all really anywhere, and he's actually performed. It's weird to say that because he's so old and so bad. Well, now he's bad now, although he's not showing it. Anyway, not a game I'm targeting offensively. There are, I mentioned the games that are going to be higher scoring. Your Texas-Baltimore game, not Texas-Baltimore. Your Texas, man, why am I doing this? Texas and so I keep thinking Saunders is throwing for Baltimore still. He's throwing for Texas now. Texas-Cleveland, sorry. Texas-Cleveland game I think is one of the higher scoring ones. Baltimore-Oakland I think is one of the higher scoring ones. The Twins-Astros, another one of the higher scoring games. And then obviously you got the Coors Field game that we will get to here in a second. This is a game where I'm not predicting a lot of scoring. I'm not predicting much offensively here. So I'm kind of flatlining this entire game. There will be not a single guy from this game in any of my lineups. So I'm just throwing that out there. If you guys are looking for players, this might be a day where you see Buster Posey get a day off, a guy like Hector Sanchez who can switch hit against a guy like Zach Wheeler, maybe as a punt option. Daniel Murphy, I mentioned a guy who's a pretty safe floor on a guy like Daniel Murphy. He's like my favorite Met to use just because I like the second base. I like that he can play there and be kind of one of those safer options. But let me move on. A few more to get to. Running out of time here. The Nationals and Padres is at Petco Park. George Zimmerman, who we had that whole huge thing on him earlier this season. He flies under the radar quite a bit. This is a guy who's got good stuff. He was excellent last start against the Phillies. 8 innings, 4 Ks is really disappointing. The strikeouts haven't really been there this year, which kind of stinks because I think this is a guy who, with his stuff, that should be able to put it together and rack up some Ks. The Padres are not a good offense. So I think Zimmerman is definitely on the board today as an option. I think he will be kind of lower percentage owned, especially in GPPs and stuff like that because of those strikeouts. But a guy that, could go deep into this game. They let him throw a lot of pitches. Could go deep in this game. Should hopefully get you a win. And, you don't really have to be too concerned about him getting banged around too hard against a Padres lineup at Petco Park. So that's what I'll say about Zimmerman. So no Padres hitters for me. This is a game that, there's not going to probably be a whole lot of scoring anyway, over under 7. But Eric Stoltz is throwing for the Padres. And if you've watched the show while Eric Stoltz is pitching, I've talked about Eric Stoltz. Eric Stoltz is the most annoying pitcher in the world. It's just annoying to watch a guy like that actually pitch in the big leagues. He doesn't strike out anyone. Literally, like everybody puts it in play against him, and that just I feel like that's like just a recipe for disaster. Like his numbers would suggest that he's not a very good pitcher, and rightfully so. Like he isn't a very good pitcher. But like, how do you keep throwing a guy out there every single day or every single 5 days, who just he doesn't. I don't know. Like he can't get swing. He doesn't generate swings and misses. And obviously for daily fantasy sports, that's what we need to feel okay with rostering a guy. So I like some of these bats against Stoltz. Obviously that lineup isn't out yet, but the guys in there that kind of mash some lefties, Worth and man, who am I blanking out? Rendon mashes lefties. A bunch of guys there that for sure are in play against Stoltz. I think everybody's in play against Stoltz. Even using the lefty-lefty thing against a guy like him doesn't worry me because he doesn't strike anybody out. So it's not like you have to worry about that big sweeping breaking ball. It's just going to be like a power breaking ball into the dirt or a hard slider in the dirt against the left-handed guy that could set him down. So Stoltz doesn't worry me. Everybody's in play against Stoltz. The disappointing thing here is that it's at Petco Park. So the chances of generating a ton of offense are not that great. The next place, though, is a place where you can generate a lot of offense. The Rockies and Dodgers at Coors Field. Rain might play a factor in this one. I don't think you're probably on using the pitchers anyway. Maybe Clayton Kershaw if you want to get cute. I think it's an interesting GPP play. But at Coors Field, man, it's super tough to pay up for him with Felix at Tropicana against the Rays. So with that being said, Felix won, definitely. But, Kershaw is probably the best pitcher in the game. But pitching at Coors Field is just so disappointing. It's really tough to kind of get behind using him. Anyway, hopefully a lot of runs scored in this game. Hopefully the runs are being scored by the Dodgers right-handed bats against Jorge De La Rosa. There's a bunch of Dodgers right-handed bats. I know Puig left the game the other day. What's going on with him? Yeah, Puig and D. Gordon both left the game. That was yesterday, I guess, right? Is yesterday Saturday? Yeah. So check out what's going on with that. I believe it was a hip flexor for Puig and Gordon, something else with his hip too. I would love Puig if he was in the lineup. You're going to have to check and see on it. But otherwise, you got guys like Hanley, Matt Kemp, Justin Turner even. I think that Tim Fedorovich guy hit a 3-run homer yesterday. Which is kind of gross. But if you're punting catcher, why not take a chance at punting a position that's playing at Coors Field, who might run into a baseball, and you get lucky and kind of get that 3-run homer from a bum guy like that. So that's it here, guys. I don't really want to use any Rockies against Kershaw, even though it is Coors Field. I think you could be super contrarian and pick Tulowitzki, pay up for Tulowitzki against Kershaw. Obviously, mashes lefties at home, but it is Kershaw. So that's what I'll say on that. I think you're getting cute if you use Rockies, a bunch of them anyway, but it would also be mega contrarian, and should they kind of bang him around, you're going to be looking pretty good. And it is Coors Field, so it's notorious for being a run-scoring environment. Anyway, 2 games left, guys. The Braves and Diamondbacks is another one of those 4 o'clock games. It's at Chase Field in Arizona. I believe it's Chase Anderson and Aaron Harang with an over-under of 8.5. Another one of these games that presents us with a little better chances of offense. Anderson's been pretty good. He had that one bad start against the Dodgers. A right-handed guy out of the state of Texas who's progressed quite well. He's 4-0, 3.32 ERA. The thing here, though, is Chase Anderson has 14 strikeouts in, 15 2/3, 22 2/3 innings. Yeah, that's what I got to say about that. The Braves are a lineup that has a ton of strikeout potential when you put together those guys, but Chase Anderson just really isn't striking out a whole lot of guys. So Chase Anderson's definitely not on my board. Braves hitters actually are, because I do like the park a whole lot. Justin Upton coming back to Arizona. There's a storyline there if you want to get cute with that. A guy like Freeman. I'm blanking on Braves players right now against Anderson. Everybody from this Braves lineup is in play today. You see that the young guy Tommy La Stella as a potential value play on a day like today, where it's another hitter's park. Hitter's Park, another good run-scoring game potential there. So that's that's where if you're going to be punting, you're going to want to be punting in a spot like that. So I like a guy maybe like Stella, who you could slide in real cheap in that kind of middle infield place and see what happens. That's where I like to go with my value plays is the games where I think there might be a bunch of runs scored, and certainly I think there might be a bunch of runs scored in this one. The last game, though, guys, I will get to the last game. No, what am I doing? Last game. It is where did my list go? Okay, it is Boston and Detroit. Anibal Sanchez and John Lackey. Man, it's at Detroit, obviously a bigger place than not Fenway Park. Both of these guys have been good. Anibal's been good since he came back from the DL. A guy with a high strikeout potential. Lackey strikeout potential, not quite as much, but he kind of presents you a pretty nice baseline. You kind of know that he's going to go out there and strike out 4 or 5, and you can feel okay with that. But I don't want to use him against Detroit, certainly. Detroit is a very, very good offense, and last time Lackey saw them, they hit him around quite well at Fenway Park. So between the pitchers, Anibal is obviously the more intriguing guy here for me, but I still don't even know if I'm really going to use Anibal at all. I think he's a nice GPP option with the strikeout potential, but there's just not a whole lot there that I really want to get cute using him against, using him against the Red Sox. Anyway, this appears to be a game where, let me see what the over-under is. 7.5. Appears to be one of those kind of like mediocre type games. If you're looking for the late sweat, you can plug in a bunch of those Tigers guys against Lackey that you feel comfortable using. Victor Martinez has been exceptional. Miggy for sure, Kinsler. They're all on the board, guys. They're all guys you can think about playing against a guy like John Lackey. I don't want to get cute and use guys against Anibal a whole lot. It's difficult because it is the Red Sox, so you do have some of those good bats. And I know Furious would want me to mention Brock Holt. So I should throw that name out there just in case. And another thing about using these guys in these games, is if you're not playing like a late slate only, the lineups are going to lock on this game at 1 o'clock, and we have no clue who's going to be in there. So that's the difficult thing in rostering guys here, and that's another one of the reasons I don't want to mention too many names to you. But if you're picking this game, I think you're picking Detroit bats who hit around Lackey in his last start. And that's where I would go here. So just a real quick recap. If you're just kind of like scrolling through and looking at the names today, be aware that a guy like Kershaw is at Coors Field, the higher over under. It is still Clayton Kershaw, but Coors Field can do a lot to the baseball. Be aware that King Felix is striking out guys now. He's at Tropicana, one of the best matchups of the day. My favorite pitcher by far. Be aware of some of the other guys that you might be able to use as like a number 2 starting pitcher, like Henderson Alvarez and Jordan Zimmerman and those guys. Pitcher is the most important position, I believe, in daily fantasy sports, so that's where I definitely want to focus that. So you guys keep your eyes on that. Some small weather concerns, in Pittsburgh, that's one of the scarier ones, and then you look at Texas and Colorado with some brief weather there. Other than that, though, guys, that is it. That is it for the today's slate. So if you have any questions or anything, reach out to me. Otherwise, good luck. Hopefully everything goes well for you today. Should be a fun day, a great day of baseball. It's been absolutely beautiful here in northeastern Pennsylvania. Wish I was still in Pittsburgh to go catch a game, but enjoy the day, guys. Good luck in all your games. Good luck the rest of the week, should I not see you. And other than that, go Cubs, go. Take care, guys.